Yesterday at this time, we were talking the story that I guess fair to say surprised most Canadians, the announcement, jointly announced by Sophie Gregoire Trudeau and Justin Trudeau that they were separating after 18 years of marriage.
Yeah, well, we were saying it was kind of a surprise and kind of wasn't, because the rumor mill had been swirling forever, but I don't think we ever actually expected the marriage to end, certainly not while Trudeau was still in office.
Yeah, that's one of the questions too, right? It was publicly announced yesterday. Some people question, well, why bother announcing it at all? Why not kind of keep it? It's personal, it's private, and let it sort of stay where it's supposed to stay. But anyway, that's after the fact now. We also mentioned at some point, and a few of our texters mentioned when we asked the question, hoping that none of the other political leaders in this country would use the opportunity to do anything political. Now, I should tell you, we haven't heard from all of them, but I want you to hear this. Jagmeet Singh earlier this afternoon asked about the separation and said the following.
I know what happened yesterday is seen as private matters, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the Prime Minister's separation announcement yesterday. Do you have any message you would like to share with Trudeau and the family on behalf of the party?
Well, I just want to acknowledge that this is an incredibly difficult time for anyone to have to go through a separation. It's a very difficult thing, and particularly to go through a separation in the public eye. And I just want to acknowledge how difficult that is for not only Mr. Trudeau and his wife, but also for his children. And I also want to acknowledge the impact it could have on his kids, and in their request for privacy, respect that is what they've been calling for, and respect that.
Okay. Good answer.
Can you really respect their privacy?
Regardless, that is what he's saying, and that's something we should strive to do,
I
right?
like everything that he said. I just don't know if it's realistic when you're such public figures on the international stage, no less.
Maxime Bernier, on the other hand, said the following yesterday. He tweeted this out. He was first of the, if we call him a political leader. And I'm going to read you what Maxime Bernier wrote from the People's Party of Canada. And this is the quote. "What really matters is not that Trudeau leaves his wife, is that he leaves the office of the Prime Minister," unquote.
Like, way to take the high road, buddy.
Tone deaf? Embarrassing? I don't know. We wanted to get Evan Solomon to weigh in on this. He's a special correspondent for CTV News, publisher of GZERO Media, and you used to hear him on the air here every day until he left us to move to New York.
Way to go, Evan.
Yeah, nice going. Evan, how are you?
I am good. I will be happy to say that both my kids live in Montreal because they go to McGill, so I'm in your fair city all the time.
Well, we're happy to hear
that. We're glad
that.
to hear that.
So let me ask you, obviously you're still very much, a follower of Canadian politics, and now that you're based in the U.S., were you surprised, or is there reason to be surprised by how much international attention this story has gathered?
Yeah, and we still, one of our newsletters, GZERO North, we write about Canadian politics and U.S. politics, so I still very much follow it. Look, there's a personal side to this, and there's a political side, and we should be very careful on both. Jagmeet Singh said, and as Justin Trudeau said, this is personal. These are very public figures, but they have a personal life. They're parents raising 3 kids. Justin Trudeau knows about this. He went through it. He lived it when his own parents had a very public divorce. He was one of 3 kids as well. It's very painful. And he wrote about that in his 2014 book, Common Ground. So there's a personal side. The kids are unelected. Leave them out of it. They didn't choose this. They are not political figures. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau's in the middle. She is clearly been used for the political branding of Mr. Trudeau. She, in fact, liked the role. There's no formal, quote, first lady role in Canada. But remember, she said at one point, I need more staff to serve people. I need to help. I want to do stuff. So, personally, I would say, yes, we have to respect their privacy. But as you said, it's not that easy because politicians use their families all the time for their brand. It's not exploitation. They've got to be relatable. And politics is a family affair, but politics is not fair to families. And the politician is never there, especially if it's the prime minister. It's just a brutal life, and it has a cost, and we've seen that. But the question is, especially for Mr. Trudeau, who's been both a political and a public figure his whole life, and also as a personal life, where's the line? In 2014, before he ran, he wrote a book, Common Ground. I interviewed him. I was then the host of Power and Politics on CBC, and I asked Mr. Trudeau in his book, by the way, my rule as a journalist, I never care about someone's personal life. I never talk about it. It's off limits to me unless there's 3 categories. Number 1, does something rise to the public interest? something in their personal life that could cause blackmail or cause a security risk. 2, something in their personal life impacts their ability to perform their duties, alcoholism, a physical ailment. And finally, 3, if they have raised it proactively themselves, which is exactly what Mr. Trudeau did in 2014. He's a young guy. He's starting out. He's just about to win this shock election of 2015. And in his book, he wrote, "We've had difficult times in our marriage. We've had ups and downs." Now, I didn't ask him to write that. Nobody was asking him to write that about his marriage, but he decided he would. So, of course, it becomes, quote, political fodder. I asked him on air on national television, "What do you mean?" He explained. Now, remember, this is 2014. We've already experienced Bill Clinton. It was a very similar language that Clinton had used, so I asked him point blank, is that political coded language for extramarital affairs? And he said, no, but sometimes Sophie hates my job because I love it so much. And it was a very candid, open admission. But he had proactively brought up the guts of his marriage in his own book. So that made it, tread carefully, but we talked about it. Now, here we are in 2023. I'm wary about, I won't talk about what's going on between them. I wish them the best. I wish their kids the best, like I would anybody. But politically, yeah, there's going to be consequences.
And in terms of, I loved what you said about him being relatable and talking about his marriage so openly. It makes him human, right? It makes you think, okay, he is a normal guy. So now that he is, the marriage is splitting up, does that help or hurt him? Does he become more relatable because, marriages fail?
That's a great question. I have to tell you that, I've already had talks with, insiders both in Canada and politicians who are asking that question. So I think the best thing, first of all, you don't know what the impact's going to be. But what we do know is his father went through this. Now, back in the 1970s, like 40 years ago, it did actually, the divorce helped Pierre Trudeau, partly because Margaret Trudeau had a very public life that at the time was deemed salacious. The kids ended up staying with Mr. Trudeau, the Prime Minister, and he was seen as, it helped humanize a kind of icy, lofty intellectual, and he was a dad trying to raise his kids, and it helped him. Mm-hmm. But back then, the press didn't really talk about the private lives of public figures. This is a very different world 40 years later. Social media, there's no contract with sort of, quote, mainstream media. There's 1,000 different outlets. So on one scenario, yes, it makes Mr. Trudeau look more relatable. He's a dad. We've all had families are hard. Divorce or separation is difficult. It could be the other way, like Max Bernier. It could be like, wow, his wife has left him. The voters are leaving him. That could be a narrative. It could be that some outlet discovers some cause, like the landmine that blew up the marriage. Somebody did something, someone didn't. I don't know. I'm not speculating. If that comes out, it would change the narrative. Mr. Trudeau Sr., when he and Margaret split up, he started dating, public figures like Barbara Streisand. Like, okay, does that start to happen? So I think it's too early to tell. Okay. This is a very raw, private moment. But I think you are 100% right. There will be speculation because families matter, being relatable matters. Is this going to provide some political change, of course, with how people regard a family? But I would just say this, the cost of public life is high.
Which is, of course, other people suggesting this is why people don't want to get into politics to a degree, because you're in that spotlight. And, of course, when something like this happens, you're in it even more. Evan, we're going to run out of time. I want to ask you one last thing. Internationally, the thing that's kind of surprised us, and maybe it shouldn't have, is how much attention this story is drawing internationally. Should we be surprised? Should we be surprised?
Trudeau's an international brand. This is not just the Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, Justin Trudeau, when he arrived on the scene, everyone knows the name because it's the Trudeau name, the Canadian Kennedy name. Famous guy, young guy, gets on the scene. Now he's the longest-serving member of the G7, so he's been on the political scene for a long time. Young and glamorous couple. So, no, it's got lots of coverage. It's very rare that a G7 leader's marriage splits up openly like this. So, yeah, it's getting a lot of attention. But I would just say this, I'm happy to do sort of unemotional political analysis. But I always think people should remember the basic decency of humanity. Somewhere in the crazy social media, there's 3 kids involved. There's 2 parents. They're trying to figure something out. And divorce or separation is always painful. Yeah. Doing it in the public light is like open heart surgery without an anesthetic. And it must be brutal.
Evan Solomon. Evan, thank you so much for the time. Great talking to you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to connect.